That sounds so official. So, hello everybody, good evening. It is 7:02, so I think we're just going to start rolling ahead with this so we can all hear some really important information and really incredible information. So, before I do start, I do want to just say that this evening, what we're going to hear is really for educational and information purposes only, and we're not claiming to treat, heal, cure, or diagnose any illness or disease. So we just want to make sure we say that ahead of time. We're just here to learn and listen and in a really, really fun and simple way, which we all love. So thank you for joining. We have lots of people from all over North America joining us tonight to chat with a really, really important person to myself as well as to Nicole, who is co-hosting this with me, Peter Greenlaw. And before we get going, I just wanted to share really quickly what Peter's done for me, and then we're going to, Nicole's going to say a couple things, and then we're just going to let Peter go ahead and discuss what we're going to discuss tonight. So 2 years ago, I was being coached and mentored by a mutual friend of Peter's and Nicole's and mine, Kirk Metz. And one day, Kirk brought in a special guest, and it was Peter Greenlaw. And at that time, I was kind of going through some injury and some tissue damage at the time. So I'm just going to get you to mute your microphones for everybody, please. So if you're not muted, I'll just get you to mute right now. We're just getting some background noise. Thank you. So we were just having a discussion. I was going through some issues at the time with my own physical health and wellness. And Peter said something to me that really resonated, and it was almost like someone smucked me upside the head with a 2x4. And, it's not something that I hadn't heard before, but Peter gave me permission to do it. And it was really around intermittent nutritional fasting. And what he said to me, we're not talking about this tonight, but this is part of the piece that was really missing for me. And he said, Sandra, it's not some of the time, it's all of the time. And that was really the biggest piece, along with what Peter's going to be discussing this evening with nutritional deficiency in protein shakes, and talking about how we're going to pump up our protein shakes. I did those two things, and you guys, I've had the best health transformation I've ever had in my life. My body has really just had the support that it needed in the biggest and possible way. So after that, I just really dove into what Peter's so passionate about, and that's the medical syndrome called TDOS. It's an acronym, TDOS. He has 4 books. Nicole's going to go into a little bit when she introduces him. However, I really started to follow him. I'm glad that you didn't have my phone number at the time, and I didn't have your phone number, Peter, because I probably would have totally stalked you. I immersed myself, and that is what made me so passionate about helping other people learn what the TDOS syndrome is, because you know what? Not everybody knows about it, and more people need to know about it. That's where your passion comes from. That's what's really trickled down and rippled down into Nicole and as well as my other business partners like Amber and Tracy and Rebecca. We've all kind of like linked arms with this whole movement, really, with the TDOS syndrome. And it's a registered trademark, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So I'll let you kind of talk a little bit about that if you want to, but I just wanted to say, like, super grateful to you. I can now call you my friend. I'm super, super happy about that. And Nicole's going to kind of boast about you a little bit more, because Nicole's actually known you longer than I have. So go ahead, Nicole.
Oh, thank you, Sandra. Well, I've got to say, I've been so proud and so excited, because when Sandra and I were working together with this co-friend of ours in 2019, we got to know each other very well. And we were just together collaborating and working on projects together, coaching projects for individuals in 2019. And we were on the phone or Zoom every single day. And so I just got to where I just, fell in love with Sandra as a sister and a colleague and a good friend. And what she decided to do in 2020, Sandra, it's remarkable. It's nothing short of remarkable what you've done. And you've put 3 really great things together: community, people being educated in the TDOS syndrome, and the results that people have had. And I want to commend you for that. And so we've started, like I've been bringing people on board, and we've been everyone, of course, when everyone follows, it's a turnkey system. It's the right solution to the syndrome of TDOS. And so when we got together to this year to start working together, we really decided that what we could really use from, having Peter on as a guest this call is to be able to really dive in and talk about actually the deficiency part of TDOS. So TDOS stands for 4 things: toxicity, deficiency, obesity, and stress. And it's not just one thing that is affecting everyone. It's a combination of everything. And I first met Peter, how long have we known each other? It's got to be like 19 years.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And Peter, maybe you can tell your story, but if I can just say this for you, because I know I've heard you say it, and that your mother died of complications of obesity. Is that correct?
Yep.
And when Peter started discovering and diving in after that life-changing event, how many of you have had life-changing events that set your sails and your course and your life in another direction? I know I have. And that was what this was, a defining, moment for Peter, that he just dove into studying all 4 of these categories. And I remember when you started researching and reading all these books on those 4 topics, we actually had a class that we would go to and learn how to do the presentations, and just to get people to start thinking about being healthy and taking responsibility for their own health and their own body. Well, this is what I want to leave you with, because I don't want to go on long. I want Peter, you be able to have the time tonight, but I want to say this about your research. When you think of the word research, you think, oh, okay, somebody's researched something. It's not like you guys, what we do when we go on YouTube, or we go to somebody's site and go, oh, they've studied this. Not at all. When Peter researches a researcher, I got to tell you, he researches the top tier, the top level PhDs, doctorates, scientists, people that have been the best of the best, the top tier people in all 4 of these categories. And he doesn't just read their books and go, okay, I've studied their research. He dives in, he rolls up his sleeves, he jumps in, he does the cannonball, you guys. He jumps in with his whole heart, his whole soul, his money, his time, his energy. He goes to where these people are. He studies their studies. He doesn't just read it once or twice. He studies their studies. He gets to know the individuals and has incredible relationships with them. It's the full meal. It's the whole deal. It's the whole ball of wax. And I want you to really understand that, to know what Peter has done and has been doing this now, and 4 books later, of this path of just incredible dedication, commitment. And I remember that when Peter got a hold of this information and realized this is what was plaguing not only North America, but the world, toxicity, deficiency, obesity, and stress, people said, my gosh, Peter, what are you doing? And he said, I'm going to change the world. And he knew he was going to. He was on a mission that big. And think about it. Maybe just one person can't influence thousands, but together we can, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. And so that's what we're part of. We're a part of the mission to get this out and help people transform their health and find these real solutions. So with that, Peter, I want you to take it, and we're going to dive in. We just said we're going to dive in to the deficiency part of TDOS tonight, because we want to really talk about the study that was done, about 4 or 5 years ago with the leading cancer research team in Europe, and what happened out of that, and why that study is linked with deficiency, and that's the solution with deficiency. And so anyway, please take it, Peter. It's such an honor for all of us to have you here tonight. We're so grateful.
Well, thanks to both of you for hosting me, and I'm really excited for all of you. And let's be clear, as Nicole sort of laid it out, and Sandra to some extent, I'm not the expert, but I sure, pardon my French, sure as hell became the expert on the experts. And like Nicole, what she said, I literally have worked with some of the top people in medicine, genetics, molecular biology in the entire world. So my colleague, his name is Dr. Marco Ruggiero, is probably one of the most prominent oncologists in the world. He's also a molecular biologist, and he worked with two men who won the Nobel Prize in medicine, just to give you an idea. And he was the one, or his group did a study, and they took 40 stage 4 cancer patients. And again, we're not making any medical claims, but we are stating what they did in the scientific study. So they took these stage 4 cancer patients that all were given about a year to live. And there were 40 of them. And they were from about 50 to, I believe it was about 70 years old. He broke them into two groups of 20. Now, these were brain cancers and lung cancers and pancreatic cancers and liver cancers and lymphomas and just the worst of the worst, right? So in the first group, they put them on what we would all consider a really healthy diet. In the second group, he put them on a very specific diet of 20% carbohydrates, 60% proteins, and 20%, 20% good fats, in this case, olive oil and coconut oil. So in the first group of 20, they were on what we would consider a really healthy diet. No one lived more than 12 months. In the second group of people, about 80% of the people were still alive 6 years later. Oh my gosh, well, what was the difference? The difference was, and this is what Dr. Ruggiero told me, when anyone has cancer, the last thing on the earth we want them to do is to lose weight. Because in their losing of the weight, they're wasting away. They literally are losing their lean muscle mass. And that's a contributing factor to our immune system. I didn't know that. He taught me this, okay? The reason I'm telling you this story is because it really is going to address what I want to talk about next, which, is one of the most significant things that I've ever seen in 19 years in terms of people really transforming their lives, okay? So the problem was in the first group, they couldn't get 60% of their calories from proteins. I lost my younger brother in 2011 to kidney cancer, which is another huge motivation factor for me. I didn't know any of this back then because I only met Dr. Ruggiero about 5 or 6 years ago when he taught me all this. So the key was, what did he do with the second group? The second group of people to get their proteins up, because in the case of my brother, he couldn't eat like 3 chicken breasts a day or steak, whatever, to get his calories up to 60%. So what Ruggiero had done, he'd used an undenatured, in case you don't know what that means non-pasteurized whey protein from Switzerland, okay? Nothing to do with any of us, just that's what he used in the study. And he and I got together and we wrote a book which has been highly acclaimed called Your Third Brain. It's not a trick title. It's not science fiction. It's for real. Okay. So shameless plug for me. I would encourage all of you to read oh, you've got it. Okay. Right there. And the reason it's so important, we have a whole chapter devoted to what I'm going to talk to you about next, because in Ruggiero's case, it was completely generic. So what I'm going to share with you, he has nothing to do with the fulfillment company that many of you use. He wasn't paid. He wasn't influenced. This is exactly how it happened. When he and I got together to write the book, he was living in Florence, Italy at the time, but he'd come over to the United States in August and he was going to spend the whole month here. He spent a week in South Beach in Florida, and then he came and we spent 3 weeks flying around the country, primarily going to cancer centers in Illinois and California and various venues. And we were writing the book. So he saw me one day making a shake, probably the shake that all of you are consuming. And he said, "Hey, can I have a canister of that?" And I had no idea what he was going to do. Now, keep in mind, what I'm going to tell you next is science. It has no emotions. It has no agendas. It just is. So that's what I want to share with you, okay? So he took that shake, and then unbeknownst to me, well, first let me back up for just a moment. About 8 years ago, they developed a measurement in Europe. It's called net nitrogen utilization. In layman's terms, it simply means that they can analyze in any protein what percentage of the 20 amino acids that are contained in any protein. So if you eat steak, chicken, fish, lobster, shrimp, I don't care, whatever, or vegetable protein, they all contain 20 amino acids. So that sounds good at first, but you got to go deeper. You see, protein itself is actually a foreign substance to our body. It's actually a toxin. Now that sounds like an oxymoron because we're talking, wait a minute, I'm ingesting protein. The body can't use a protein is called endogenous. That just means it comes from outside the body. So from an animal or from a plant. Okay, let's be clear about that, right? What matters is what percentage of the 20 amino acids are actually used by our genes. Because you see, talk about deficiency, the only way that we can remake ourselves is with amino acids, not with proteins, not with carbs, not with fats, okay? So it's really important you understand that. To give you an idea, all of us on this call, you'll remake the lining of your stomach twice this month. You're going to remake your livers twice this year, and you'll remake almost every single cell in your body once every 7 years. The only way that occurs is with amino acids. That's why they're called the building blocks of life, not proteins. Proteins are useless to us. But here's a better example. You all have seen a walnut. Now, I wouldn't recommend taking a walnut and eating the shell because you're probably going to break your teeth. But if you know, you get one of those silver things that looks like a scissor, you crack the nut and you get the nut out. So when we ingest a protein from an animal or vegetable, that's what the body does. It basically opens the protein and extracts all 20 amino acids. But the key becomes what percentage of 100% is being absorbed or being used by our genes. But I don't want to get too technical. I just want to give you the basics, okay? Now watch this. So this new measurement that they discovered scientifically in Europe called net nitrogen utilization, they could measure in any protein what percentage of 100% of the aminos was used by the body. Well, I'll give you, these are the numbers. Again, science has no emotions. Ruggiero has no dog in this hunt. It's just a scientific measurement, right? So let's just take like a pea protein. So some of you, if you're vegans, I'm probably going to make you mad, but what the hell? It's my show, so you can either listen to me or not, all right? A pea protein absorption is only 10% out of 100, okay? What you need to do if you're going to use a non-dairy source of protein is you need multiple proteins. So I know some of you are vegans and you use the non-dairy shakes. Okay, that's great. If they have multiple plant proteins, but their maximum absorption is about 25% out of 100. All animal proteins, I don't care if it's meat, chicken, turkey, fish, whatever, the maximum absorption is about 30%, okay? Now, the reason I'm telling you this, I didn't understand what he was going to do. So he took my shake that had been taking for 19 years, and as it suggests on the label, and I'm not opposed to that. Again, this is just science. I'm not making an argument one way or another. I just want to give you the science. So I'd been making it for 18 or 19 years. I believe it was part of saving my life. And I made it in cold water and I drank it within 5 minutes. Okay. But what Dr. Ruggiero did, he didn't stop with me. He took the shake that I was consuming, his shake from Switzerland, and went to Whole Foods and Trader Joe's and got 18 other shakes. The top brands, okay? They were all undenatured whey proteins. And he ran the experiment, okay? Some of the shakes that you see advertised that people on TV, et cetera, that are complete bull, because guess what their absorption rate was in cold water after 5 minutes? 5% out of 100, 5%. There were a few at 8, there was one at 10. His from Switzerland was 12%. And the one that I was ingesting was the highest at 15%. So I'm not going to discourage any of you from making it in cold water and drinking it after 5 minutes, but I'm just going to give you the science. So it's at 15%, okay? But we had the highest, which is great. But then he did something crazy, at least in my opinion. He took all 20 shakes, my shake, the shakes from Switzerland, and these other ones he bought, and he made them in 100-degree Fahrenheit water. He mixed the shakes. He took the lids off all 20 and let them sit for 45 minutes. And then he retested them. So keep in mind, they all were exposed to the same experiment. 100 degrees, mixed, sat for 45 minutes. 19 out of 20 of the shakes, including a shake from Switzerland, after the 45 minutes, nothing changed. In other words, if it was 5%, it was still 5%. If it was 8%, 10%, 12% didn't change. Except, wait a minute, the shake I was ingesting, it went from 15% absorption, you ready for this, to 90%, the highest absorption of any protein that's ever been tested. Whoa, wait a minute. Now something was wrong because all 20 shakes were in the hot water. All 20 shakes sat for 45 minutes. It had to be something else. Well, that something else is on the label. Now, again, I'm going to talk generically. If you could find an undenatured whey protein, okay, and there are lots of them out there, they're available all over the world. But what's missing are 5 enzymes that are on your label. They're called proteases. Now, before I kind of give you the rest of it, I want to go backwards. So my colleague, how did he know this? Because he had worked with Sir John Vane of England in 1986, who won the Nobel Prize in Medicine for his work on enzymes. And they knew that those enzymes only were activated with temperature and time. So 19 to 20 shakes, the reason nothing happened, although they were exposed to the same experiment, they didn't contain the proteases. So again, if you could find a shake on an undenatured whey protein with the 5 proteases and you made them in the 100-degree water and you let them sit, the same thing would happen. But that is a game changer, because let's come back to deficiency now. So you all make your own decision. You can make your shake in cold water and drink it in 5 minutes and get 15%. And I'm not even that smart, but I was pretty good in math. 15% absorption, 90% absorption. I think I'm going for the 90%. Now, by the way, after the 45 minutes, you can add ice and you can remix it. But there's 3 other critically important parts, again, that he analyzed under an electron microscope. He showed the shake in cold water, any of them, and you could literally see, as a matter of fact, in whey protein, there are a couple, there's whey protein, there's what are called casein proteins and milk proteins. That's just what's in it, okay? And there are a lot of people that have casein allergy, or they have an allergy to whey protein, or they have an allergy to dairy. But he showed it under an electron microscope. At 5 minutes, you could see that the casein proteins in particular, it kind of looked like the surface of the moon with all these holes, and it was really irregular. Then he did a comparison after the 45 minutes in the warm water. It was unbelievable. All the whey protein, all the casein protein, all the milk protein was gone, in the sense when you looked at that same piece on the slide, it was as smooth as like a beach. There were no discrepancies whatsoever. And of course, it proved when he measured it, there was no whey protein left, no casein protein left, no milk protein. But here was another thing. The sugars, because people are like, oh, there's too much sugar, was reduced by 30%. 30%. And if you look at it now, you guys hopefully are all using, I'm going to say it, Isolene Pro. And the main reason, there's 2 reasons. Number one, it's 36 grams of protein. And if you look at the amount of sugar, even if you made it in cold water, in relationship to how much protein, you'll see it has a very low, what I call a ketogen. So you all heard about the keto diet that's all about limiting carbs and fats and whatever. But my gosh, based on his analysis, if you drop those sugars another 30%, you're way below the threshold of keto, way below the threshold. And of course, we know that keto diets actually don't work. They've now been proven in clinical studies. It's a bunch of horse manure. But again, I'm just a researcher. I just look at the facts, and I had someone approach me yesterday with this company. Actually, it's been around for a long time. I'm not going to mention the name. And I looked at their shake, and of course, the first thing was it was 110 calories. Just so you know, by law, it has to be about 280 calories to be considered a meal replacement. But the other thing, what did it contain? Soy protein. No human, especially no woman, should ever put soy in their body. There's all kinds of research about that. But of course, this undenatured whey protein is the best in the world. And you look at a lot of these other shakes, their percentage of protein is 12%. It's, instead of it being 36 grams, it's 12 or 15. So back to deficiency. If your body is relying on amino acids to remake itself, as a matter of fact, there couldn't be anything more important than amino acids to the human body. I mean, think about it. You're going to access 90% of 36 grams. When you look at these other the ones he tested, they were getting 5% of like 12 grams of protein. I mean, you see the difference. You're getting 90% of 36, which means, see, what it really means is the human body, the gene reacting to an amino acid then makes the human protein. So let's say we ingested 100 grams of one of these other shakes. You understand you're getting 5% of 12. So you're getting less than a gram of amino acid. Where this shake, you're getting 90% of 36, you're getting almost 27. I mean, you're getting 27, 28 times more aminos. And that's the only thing. See that, and I don't see any bodybuilders on here, but typically a bodybuilder, they'll consume 1 gram of protein for every pound they weigh. No, they don't get it. They don't understand. It has nothing to do with the amount of protein. It has to do with how much of the amino acids are actually being utilized. And they'll give you, there's another thing, it's called net protein utilization. And it's another term, but all it means is when you ingest any shake, you're going to absorb about 90% of the protein. That doesn't matter. All that matters is what percentage of those 20 aminos is your body using. Let me give you another very important point in the world we live in today. As you all know, we're now seeing, I'm not even going to make any medical. All I'm going to say is this. Does anyone think that on any basis, anytime, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, would having a robust immune system simply be a good strategy? Yes or no? Yes. I know you can't answer, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me give you a little more science. So in the human body, we make this really, really powerful molecule. And you can research it. You can, trust me, I've done it. There's a great book called Detoxify or Die by Dr. Sherry Rogers. And the whole book is devoted to this molecule, which is called glutathione. Glutathione is one of the most powerful, what does it do? Supporting our immune system. And you're going to see companies, they're selling glutathione supplements, completely useless, and you're just paying for expensive urine. But if you want to spend your money on glutathione supplements, go for it. But I go to the science. The body makes glutathione, it makes glutathione inside our cells, but it only can make it with 3 of those 20 amino acids called cysteine, glycine, and glutamate. Now I think you're going to understand why incubating those shakes is so important. Because remember, you're getting 90% of all 20 aminos. Are those 3 part of the 20? Let's see. Oh, cysteine's in there. Oh, glutamate's in there. Oh, glycine's in there. I'm saying for my own self personally, not having known this until he taught me this, that getting 90% of those 3 along with the other 17, does that sound like that would be a good strategy to support our immune system? Probably, right? I mean, this is why it's so crazy. I just look at it and I say it's really simple. Our food is nutritionally bankrupt. I'll give you 3 quick examples. We take an orange from 30 years ago. It's estimated today to equal the nutrition of 1 orange. You have to eat 8. An apple from 30 years ago, today you have to eat between 6 and 12 apples. But a bowl of spinach, which I think, Popeye used to eat, we all think, well, that's really healthy. But if you go back from 1953 to 2000, the nutritional value of spinach has decreased. You ready for this? By 4,300%.
Ah!
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but you'd have to eat about 40 bowls of spinach from 1953 to today. So the D in the deficiency is critically important for another reason. So hopefully you all get the idea, 90% absorption, you're using those 3 aminos to do what? To make more glutathione. Oh, the other part of glutathione, what it does, it's a massive toxin hunter. It literally pulls toxins apart, blows them up. That's why your detox works, by the way. Even if you do this in cold water, you're still getting 15% of those 20 amino acids. I just feel, really, if I'm going to go to a gunfight, I probably don't want to, maybe a bad analogy, but I don't want to go in with a butter knife. I'm going in, I'm loaded for bear. I want at least 2 6-shooters. I'm from Colorado, so we have the West and whatever, but you get that, you get the point.
Yeah.
So now you have something, this miracle molecule that our body makes. And if you don't get this concept, anytime your body can make something, you're light years ahead of you having to take something. That's why by the way, after the 45 minutes, you can add ice. You don't have to drink the shake warm. That's up to you. You ask how convenient, you could actually make a shake tonight. You could let it ink. And the term is incubation, not fermentation. Please get that in your head. So it's warm water, 45 minutes. And at the end of 45 minutes, remix the shake tonight, put it in the refrigerator, and you can just drink it in the morning. It's that simple. You know, but this whole system is based on the concept that our food is nutritionally bankrupt. So our food today is what? Very dense calories with no nutrition. What you're all ingesting is the opposite. You're filling in the holes. You're turning the D in deficiency into an A for what? Abundance. And I didn't have time to talk about the 70 minerals that you have in your food, where the best organic food, you're going to get 15. Even if you go to the farmer's market, even if you go to a fancy store, you're getting 15 out of 70 minerals. I just, again, do the math. 15 minerals or 70? I'm going for the 70. Now,
Wow.
minerals are so critical to the human body because they are what? They're the cofactors for all your enzyme reactions. In case you didn't know, we're run by enzymes, which are basically electrical impulses, but they carry nutrition. They do all these amazing things. You have to understand there's no food like this. You have to understand that this works because what you've done, you've replaced the D, in other words, the calorically dense food, for food that's abundantly rich in the very things that fill in the gaps in the food that we're all eating, even with our best intentions. Because why? We've ruined the soil with all the herbicides and the pesticides. We've over-farmed the land. We don't turn the soil anymore. So we use phosphates and nitrates to make these huge quantities of calories with no nutrition. And yet the only thing the body can measure is nutrition, not calories. A calorie doesn't do anything to you. A calorie is just a measurement. It's the amount of heat it takes to raise 1 gram of water 1 degree Celsius. That's it. That's all a calorie is. So but what matters, and shameless plug for me, in my first book, Why Diets Are Failing Us, I proved that counting calories was the dumbest thing that anybody could do. The old formula, calories in, calories out, it's now been completely debunked. And even worse, they put you on a diet and then an exercise program. Wait a minute. How does that work? We're lowering the calories in which there's no nutrition, and then we're asking our body to expend more energy. I lost my
So excited.
I get so excited because this stuff is like crazy, and it's just like I just look at it and go like, what? But you got to understand, I'm now backed up scientifically. The studies prove there is no diet out there that works, not in the long run. The only thing you lose on a diet is lean muscle, and you slow your metabolism down. It makes sense. If you're now taking in less calories that are already bankrupt, your body has to adjust. That's why the deficiency is such a big deal. That's why it's such a huge problem for all of us. It's why it's so important that you understand that what you're putting in your body, you can't buy at a store. Even if you try and grow it yourself, it won't be in there. And also understand that this analysis of the incubation of the shake was done completely independent. Why did he do it? Let's circle back to Dr. Ruggiero, who had seen this study, because he knew in those cancer patients that if he could give them 90% of the amino acids, it was going to give them a fighting chance. It was going to give them a better chance where they would not lose lean muscle mass. Because again, one of the other 20 aminos is responsible for making lean muscle in our body. It's called leucine. Again, you're accessing 90% of leucine instead of 15%. Of course, you're going to have more muscle growth. It all makes sense just from a scientific standpoint of view. And if any of you don't know me, I'm a total nerd and I'm proud of it. You know, I don't have a pocket protector because I don't have pockets or whatever, but I don't care. Again, for me, I just look at the science and I say the science, it has no emotion. It has no anything. And when you get someone of the caliber of Dr. Ruggiero, who does this analysis with no vested interest, he wasn't paid, but he doesn't care. He was looking for the best source of protein that could be converted into amino acids for his patients. End of the story.
Right.
And if you've got anybody that is, challenged with that, at a minimum, the shakes are going to simply help them. If nothing else, maybe they won't lose weight. I don't know. I'm not a doctor and I don't try to pretend to be one. All I'm saying is that I've seen enough evidence over the last 5 years of people without diseases, but we're seeing like weight loss with muscle gain. Like in the previous 14 years, I'd never seen anything like this. And again, understand, I'm not telling you not to make your shake in cold water and drink it in 5 minutes. That's up to you.
Mhm.
Because, you know, it can be convenient. But for me, it's like a no-brainer. I mean, I'm getting 600% increase in amino acid absorption. What would be wrong? I mean, why wouldn't I want to do that?
Mhm.
And then you put the minerals on top of it. And then, of course, you've got the other, you know, the other things that are supporting you, the aloe vera and the snacks and the, you know, so it really becomes together. Now, another thing you need to know on a shake day, this is a new term. It's called nutritional partitioning. Okay. I want you to all understand on the days when you're not doing a 48-hour intermittent nutritional fast, those days are critically important because what happens is when you're having 2 shakes a day and you're hopefully eating healthy, that's what nutritional partitioning means. You're stockpiling additional nutrients that when you do go on an intermittent nutritional fast, your body can pull those along with the 300 or 400 incredibly dense calories that you're consuming on an intermittent nutritional fasting day, if that makes sense. So nutritional partitioning is really another important concept. And again, it has nothing to do. See, it's not about how many calories we ingest. It's about how much nutrition that we ingest. And that's the differentiation. And the last thing is that the deficiency is what's driving the T in toxicity or the toxins, because the body has a built-in detox system. All we're doing is supporting it. We're making massive amounts of glutathione. We're allowing the body, see, tonight when you all sleep, you will detox. Because in order to detox, you have to suspend or all but suspend your digestive tract. That's why, and I know in Europe, and I've been there, and they have dinner at 10 o'clock at night, whatever, and it's the worst thing we could ever do. Because now we go to sleep. See, if you have dinner at like 7 or, it's called the circadian rhythm, just to be clear. But if you eat it around 7 or 8 o'clock, and let's say you go to bed at 10 or 11, by the time you actually fall asleep, your body has pretty much digested all that food. So now your metabolism or your digestive is slowed down enough that your body will absolutely go into the detox mode. Another reason why when you wake up in the morning, the most important thing you could ever put in your body is one of those shakes, because you've used up whatever nutrients during the night to replenish, rejuvenate your body. That's why people don't understand. I mean, it's this whole thing. I don't eat, I skip breakfast, I have a big meal at night. No. You want to partition that nutrition over the course of a day. That's the best way to do it. So the deficiency, this will sound crazy to all of you, is also the major leading contributor to what? Obesity. What? This guy's crazy. Well, I know I'm crazy, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. But the point is, from a scientific standpoint of view, why would that make sense? Let's go to science. Let's look at a recent study of obese children. They found when they studied these children that 30% of them were suffering from rickets and scurvy, which is a disease of malnutrition. Do you think it's because they weren't getting enough calories? They were obese. No, it's because they weren't getting enough nutrition. I'm going to say something that's going to be very controversial. So the deficiency allows the body to do what it has to do to survive, and that's store the chemicals in the fat cells. We know that. It's making us fat. And then the last part of TDOS syndrome is stress. Those chemicals shouldn't be in our body. Our body is stressed out. Our cortisol levels go up, which is the hormone which actually controls your stress. So TDOS is being driven, the fire, the engine driving it is deficiency. I believe, my opinion, if all we did was give everybody in North America 1 incubated shake a day, you'd see healthcare costs plummet. Because you got to understand that one of those shakes from a nutritional standpoint of view is probably the equivalent to 3 full meals. Again, has nothing to do with the 270 or 280 calories you're consuming, but those calories are so nutritionally dense that it's just empowering your body to operate at these incredible levels that no one's ever seen before. No one's ever witnessed. Many of you in this call probably have already experienced it, except now you kind of know the science about why is it so unique? What's going on? Why is it different? You know? And I'm so blessed that I get to work with these. They taught me this stuff. It's like, what? Are you kidding me? I was like a kid in a candy store when Ruggiero's, he jokes, he has a very heavy Italian accent. He goes, Vito, you're really, you're dumber than a bag of rocks, but I'm such a good teacher. I can even teach a rock. And he's one of the most brilliant scientists in the entire world. I mean, he really is. But my goal, my mission is to simply make you aware. I never convince any about this. I never sell this to anyone. Just like I'm telling you, if you want to have your shake in 5 minutes, go for it. I'm just giving you the science, that's all. With no bias on my part, because it's not coming from me, it's coming from someone that has nothing to do. His only mission was, can I improve the potential quality of life for my patients? That was it. That was his motivation, only motivation, as it remains today. So Nicole, I think that, and Sandra, I hope that was what you wanted me to cover, because I feel like, I don't know what more I could say about it, except what I said.
No, I think that was incredible and exactly what, we were hoping you would share. And the other thing too is that once it's incubated, like how long would you say that the nutritional profile stays at that 90% before does it ever die off? Like, could you
Well,
leave
it's not that it dies off, but if you let it sit, you can let it sit out in the temperature before you add ice or even remix it. You could set it out for a couple hours, because I have athletes and they'll make their shake and they let it incubate. They sit it in their locker and maybe they work out for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And if you are going to work out, the other secret to this is you want to consume that shake within 5 minutes after your workout, because your muscles are screaming for those amino acids at that point. But obviously, if you put it in the refrigerator at night, I'm going to say 12 or 14 hours, as long as it's refrigerated. It's not that you couldn't drink it after like 20 hours, but you wouldn't like the way it's going to look, because it really starts to get gnarly. Dr. Ruggiero, in one of the experiments, he actually let it incubate for 24 hours. But he said, you probably wouldn't want to drink it. Not that it would hurt you, but it definitely looked like a different compound altogether. But if you make it at night, say you've made the shake at 9 or 10 o'clock at night and you drank it the next day, even at 10 or 11, depending on what time you get up, that would be fine. So, and keep in mind, it starts at 100 degrees and obviously the temperature comes down over the course of that time. But it needed that temperature and initial time to kind of the spark that like ignited the chemical transformation. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yeah, it does. It's incredible. Like since I heard this from you, I have not gone one day without incubating my shake because like you said, why would you not do that? And I always liken it to the scenario of what if you knew that you were drinking from like a fountain of youth
Correct.
and you still choose to not do that? It doesn't make sense.
Well, the old thing, you can lead a horse to water and you can't make them drink.
This
So
is
that
true.
I'm not trying to convince anybody tonight, but I'm going to say something that's really controversial. And I'm saying this on something that none of you are privileged to yet, but you will. That's all I'm going to say. Okay. This protocol, the shakes, intermittent nutritional fasting, is the only solution in the world we live in today. And I don't say that lightly. All the science proves that everything we thought we knew about food, diet, nutrition, and exercise was completely wrong. Completely wrong. And in the toxic world we live in today, and you can use this or not, there is no other solution. This is the solution. Mm-hmm. Proven already scientifically and to be enhanced even more as we move down the road. And I don't say that lightly. And of course, I've had the benefit of 19 years and hundreds of thousands of people that have been able to, learn what I learned, not Peter Greenlaw's research, but the research that these world-class experts have showed me. And essentially what they did, completely unrelated to this company, they showed me, they said, if you want to live the highest quality life, you need 70 minerals. You need these specific enzymes. You need, that's what I'm saying. It was completely independent. Mm-hmm. It's not an infomercial. It's not a commercial. It's just, that's it. And here's the other thing I would say to everybody on this, and hopefully you're doing it. This is unexplainable to people because it's experiential. It's like until you do it, and I say this with all due respect, everyone on this call, if you're not doing this, you have no idea how bad you feel until you realize how good you can feel.
Mhm.
But it makes sense. If you give your body everything that used to be in food from like 100 million years ago, when the dinosaurs walked the earth, don't you think your body's going to work better? I mean, because I'm a researcher, right? And I use these crazy analogies. But let's go back, when the dinosaurs walked the earth. If any of you know what a brontosaurus is, the thing, weighs like 20 tons. It only ate grass and leaves. It was an omnivore. It ate plants. If you had one of those things now and leashed it in like the state of Nebraska, I mean, it'd have to eat like 500 acres of food every day to try and get the nutrition, because our food's become so nutritionally bankrupt. And if you looked at the earth in those days, it was teeming, because they had all these volcanic eruptions, and what was coming out of the volcanoes were all the minerals that were in the soil that we've now destroyed. It only took us about 150 years to destroy what happened, millions and millions of years ago.
Wow.
And you look around look, I believe, and hopefully all of you will believe this. Let me ask both of you, or Sandra,
Yeah.
what do you think the number one threat to mankind is right now? We've never seen anything like this. Trust me, it's not Corona. What do you think it is? Number one threat to human beings.
It's either it's Tito's. It's
Well, that's
I want to say obesity.
You're right. In case you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, 90% of the people dying of COVID are obese. They have compromised immune systems. They have underlying conditions. It's not a joke. This is not something like, hey, feel good in your body. I'm not making fun of people. I'm just saying my own mother was morbidly obese my whole life, as Nicole said. And 6 months before, this was 20 some years ago, before I knew any of this. When she called me up 6 months before she died, and she said, Peter, I have one wish in my life before I die. I said, Mom, what's that? She said, I would give anything to die thin. And she died 6 months later.
Wow.
And that has stuck with me. And there are so many people suffering in what I call quiet desperation.
Mhm.
They don't want to be that way, but they don't know what else to do.
Exactly.
And unless you guys share, at least without selling them, just make them aware.
Yeah.
Say, try it. What if it works? Because I always tell people, you know what your biggest risk is? Because there's money back guarantee, of course, but forget that.
Mhm.
If you don't do it, you'll never know if this could change the rest of your life. Because I see it every day, over and over and over again.
Wow.
And when you analyze, like I do, every one of these diets that I've analyzed, at the end of the day, when you look out more than a month, the average weight loss is about a half a pound a week. And we got people losing a pound a day. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
But it makes sense because this isn't a diet.
Mhm.
Diets can't work. They're based on a failed premise of lowering calories. But have you ever heard anyone talk about, well, what about the nutrition? No, let's lower the calories and then let's put you in a rubber suit and run and sweat and whatever. Oh my God. Crazy what we do.
It is crazy.
Oh, you look at gastric bypass. What is it? It's a low calorie diet. And all those people gain all their weight back. Because, their stomach's smaller. They can only eat small meals. So guess what they start doing? They start eating ice cream 8 times a day. It's sad, but true. Because they never dealt. They're always dealing with the symptom.
Yeah.
But they're not dealing with the cause. We're evolving as a species to deal with these chemicals in our world. So as we breathe and drink these chemicals, our body only has one option: to take the chemical and stuff it in a fat cell.
Right.
No diet, no exercise program prior to this has ever been proven scientifically to remove the toxins from the body. That's why it's not a diet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So was there anything else that you two ladies wanted me to cover?
Yeah, we have a couple questions if you have
Sure,
time.
I'll do it.
Okay, perfect. So whoever just came on, I'll get you to mute your phone or your computer. So we have someone that her mom has been told she has Parkinson's. Low protein diet is what's recommended, and her mom is suffering. So she calls BS. So her question is, she wants to give it a try with the isoline, the 24 grams, but do you think the 24 grams is effective, or should she be doing the 36 grams?
All I can say is I'm not a doctor and I'm not giving you medical advice.
Yeah.
It was my mom and question of doing the 36. The other thing you have to understand, at the end of 45 minutes, there's no protein left.
Right.
You're not drinking protein anymore. You're drinking pure liquid amino acids.
Right.
And in a situation like that, where, I mean, Parkinson's, unfortunately, I'm really familiar with it, that, it also muscle wasting, they lose, all those kind of things. So obviously giving your body the elements that would enhance or preserve lean muscle growth or development, I think could be a good thing. And again, I'm not going to go against whatever the doctor's saying, that's fine. But you understand the doctors think you're ingesting protein. That's like a kidney dialysis patient. They don't want him to have the protein because they know it produces waste in the body. But by incubation, if you're removing all the protein, at 45 minutes, you're no longer drinking a shake.
Right.
It's completely different than what you started with 45 minutes ago. So that would be my answer to that.
And is
Okay.
it safe to say then, Peter, that people that have always, say a person's been dairy-free for 10 years, they believe that, they're intolerant to casein, forget lactose, because that's a whole nother thing from all the junky.
They are allergic to casein, whatever. There's no casein left. Now, again, nothing's 100%. I don't want to tell somebody. What I recommend someone like that, make it, incubate it, try a little bit, like an ounce or two, wait 30 minutes if you don't have a reaction. Because again, nothing's 100%, but I got so many people that couldn't down the shakes until they incubated, whether it was lactose intolerance or casein intolerance or whey protein intolerance, it didn't really matter.
That's
And
fantastic.
then would you say it's safe to say that once a person does the intermittent nutritional fasting and really starts like getting the toxins lowered, the toxin level lowered in the body, that you don't have all these reactions to
That's
everything?
correct. Yeah.
The biology changes.
Well, what we now know is, it's not just one toxin. I mean, I've got people now that are 50 years old that never had an allergy like to corn, and all of a sudden they have a corn allergy. Well, the problem is that these chemicals now, they're interreacting with each other and they're creating new compounds and they're creating these allergic reactions and the other things that's going on. And the main reason people have allergies to milk is because of pasteurization and homogenization. Always go and look at the processing. That's where the problem lies. I would say the farther you get from the dirt, the more unhealthy it is.
Yeah.
So we've sacrificed nutrition in the sake of really preservation on the shelf. Okay.
What if we put a Dorito on the dirt? No, just kidding. I'm teasing.
Yeah.
Okay, we love Doritos. Okay, so the next question is, post workouts, is it better to have an incubated shake or a proprietary blend of, like, what I'm talking about? It's called a tri-release protein.
Okay, I'm going to get in trouble, but I don't care. Not even on the same planet.
Yeah. So
because again, you're not getting the absorption of the aminos because there's no proteases in there. You could incubate it. Nothing's going to change. I mean, but you got to understand, this is crazy science that unless you're someone like Ruggiero, who works with a guy it's nothing against the company, they just don't know.
Yeah.
And they didn't do the experiments. All I know is I work with world-class athletes, triathletes, CrossFit people, marathoners, you name. They've never seen anything like this when they started to incubate those shakes.
Right.
Okay.
So that 3 blend.
But drink it within 5 minutes. Incubate, drink it within 5 minutes, and you get the maximum benefit. No more than 5 minutes. If you want to drink it immediately when you're done, that's even better. I have people now, workout people, that when they're on the treadmill cooling down, they'll drink their shake.
Yes, for the absorption. Absolutely. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Because the synthesis happens better, right? And the cells are open for business. Cool. I think we have another one. Are we adding? No. So are we adding the like the 36 grams to the 24-gram shake to get 36 grams?
Or just Isolene
There
Pro.
There is a 36-gram protein.
Isolene Pro,
Yeah, absolutely. And 100 degrees for 45 minutes.
Right. And then remix it, add ice at the end. Also, if you want to add Ionic Supreme after the 45 minutes, you can do it. Just can't add it. Don't put anything in there except the water, the temperature, and the time, period. That's it.
Yeah, just to let that process happen, right?
Yep.
Super cool. I don't see any other questions in the chat box. Nicole, did you have anything that popped up?
Well, I do, because you talked about that during the incubation process, how it just reduces all the sugar, brings
Right.
that
By
down
30%.
by 30%.
Yep.
And when it says on there, and I believe that this was addressed at one time, and forgive me if I don't quite remember what the formulator had to say, Peter, regarding the maltodextrin. It's not the same thing as we see on labels, not the same form.
Not the same form at all.
Do you mind addressing that real
Yeah,
quick?
it's a natural form. That the problem you get into with a lot of these things, there are synthetic versions, of various oils and things like that. And when you have the pure form of it, we've gone over and over and over this, and it's not the bad form that you typically see in a lot of these other things. So the maltodextrin is totally fine. I've had it vetted, analyzed, over the last 18 or 19 years. That's not an issue.
Cool.
Okay.
Great. Very good.
So that's it.
Yeah, I think anything else? Does anyone else have?
So I can go party now, right?
Well, can Peter talk about Cassandra? I mean, we've all had such incredible results, everyone on here, but Peter, you've had some incredible results. Do you mind just giving some results with people, even if you don't want to use names, whatever you want to do there, but just since the incubation process and some of the people that you've been working with in following the protocols?
Well, I'll use a name dropper, as I already told you about John Gray, one of my friends, but another one of my dear friends now, his name is Mark Jenkins. All of you probably know who Beyonce is, the singer, pretty famous, right? He's her personal trainer. And I met him, this is why I see it's not a diet. I met him, I don't know, 4 years ago, and I put him on the protocol. He was at 12% body fat. I would kill to be at 12% body fat, right? But this is a true story. He even talks about it. I interviewed him, and I have it actually on tape, where he said that in 11 days, he went from 12% body fat to 5% body fat and gained 5 pounds of lean muscle. That's unheard of. That's crazy. But maybe my more famous story is a young man in Alabama, 27 years old, 5'10". He weighed 420 pounds. Although I work with people who weigh 600 pounds, so 420 is not even that much. Okay, so this is the most dramatic story I can tell you. So in 30 days, he also had a 65-inch waist. He weighed 420 pounds because he's 5'10", so he's like a barrel, right? So based on what you know, Nicole or Sandra, what would you think would be a lot of weight that someone could lose, even if they're doing intermittent nutritional fasting in a month, based on what you've seen, what you've experienced?
Based on what we've seen and experienced, personally, in 1 month, I would say 35 pounds.
Nicole, is that about right?
Yeah.
Would everyone kind of agree with that? You can shake your heads or not. A pound a day would be it, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I hope I see a lot of you are sitting down. In 30 days, he lost 92.2 pounds and 65 inches off his body.
92 pounds in 1 month.
1 month. Yep.
Wow. That's incredible.
So that's pretty amazing. But remember, I tell people, don't do this to lose weight. That's the wrong reason. That's a throw-in.
Yeah.
What's happening, and this is proven in the scientific studies. So where the body stores these chemicals is in the fat around the organs. You have two types of fat. You have the outer layer, that's called adipose fat tissue, but the underlying fat is called visceral fat. And what really happens, if you think of a fat cell, okay, when the toxin goes in, it's like you put air in the balloon. That's why we're getting so fat. But it's actually inside the fat cell. Those are called fatty acids. And that's where the body accumulates the chemicals. So we're evolving as a species to deal with these chemicals, right? But in the clinical studies, what we proved is this is absolutely removing those fatty acids, and therefore those visceral fat cells are literally shrinking away. That's why we tell people, don't just weigh yourself, measure. And the three most critical measurements are like your diaphragm, your abdomen, and your waist. Because why? Because that's where the body's building this wall to protect what? The kidney, the biggest filter in the body, and the liver, I'm sorry, is the biggest filter. And then the kidney is the second biggest filter. The body's trying to protect those. Unfortunately, now there's an epidemic of a new disease called fatty liver disease, where the liver is so inundated with chemicals, it's literally having fat inside the liver. You shouldn't have fat inside your liver. That's why it's called fatty liver disease. So it just gets to a point where it can't hold anymore. And then it starts offloading the chemicals out into the body and then around the brain, the kidney, the liver, breast tissue, prostate. In men, we're accumulating all these chemicals. And that's why I said this is the only scientifically proven solution, period. Not keto, not Mediterranean, not paleo, not intermittent fasting. Nothing else has ever been proven to do what this is doing. And that's science. That's not hype. That's not an infomercial.
Hmm. Yeah. And yeah, I've experienced it too, like over the course of 9 years as well. But we had another question come in, and I know, again, we're going to clarify we're not doctors or scientists or anything like that, and this is
Right.
just all kind of information. The question is, hyperthyroidism. How could an incubated shake, one or two a day, help with that?
Well, the thing that'll help with that even more is obviously intermittent nutritional fasting, along with incubating the shakes. I've worked with, I mean, everything from people that had their thyroids removed to
Mhm.
goiter to hyperthyroidism to, all those conditions. And again, nothing's 100%,
Right.
but it makes sense that a thyroid is a major filtering. All our blood moves through there. I think it's every like 18 minutes or whatever it is. So again, by removing toxins from the system, it, because a lot of those conditions are like sort of like an overstraining, of it. But I've seen people that have, even been with the help of their doctor, but on medication. The primary one is something called Synthroid, but there's a generic version called Armor, which is what, I think most people probably should be on, but I'm not a doctor, and that's up to their doctor. But in many cases, with the help of their doctor, they've been able to drastically reduce their need for medication, or in some cases, totally eliminate it with the help of their doctor. So hypothyroidism, goiter, any of those conditions, I've been working with this long enough that I've seen it over and over again. But again, just get the concept. If you give your body everything that's possible that we know about, your body's probably going to work better. No matter what the challenge is, it just is,
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, Peter, does that tie in with digestion when someone's digestion resistant? Like a lot of these conditions that people go through actually cause like a misconduct in the body of being able to really absorb and digest and break down
Yeah, there's actually a
information.
disease. It's called auto intoxication, and that's not from having too many gin and tonics. They now have identified that as the body stores these chemicals, it like produces a wall that really cuts down on the absorption. That's why it's called auto intoxication. That's why, again, it's not just a matter that you're giving your body these massive amounts of nutrients when you're consuming this stuff, but you're also allowing the body a higher capability to absorb. And that's a very important point, Nicole. That may be a great way to end. And that is, it's not what you drink, you eat, or you breathe. It's what you absorb.
Mhm.
If you think about asthma, think about, any of those diseases, it's I don't know, I don't have enough oxygen. People are tired, they're worn out because they don't have enough nutrition. So imagine if you're eating nutritionally bankrupt food, and that's why I say this is the only solution. There is no other solution to this.
Mhm. Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
thing everybody should focus on is maximizing your quality of life potential. That's the thing we all want. I mean, who wants to be 80 years old and you can't walk across the room?
Mhm. Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever the condition are, it's just that it doesn't, we're not saying this, all this is doing is supplying your body with the potential to function better. Maybe that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the two solutions, obviously,
Right.
intermittent nutritional fasting, incubation of shakes. And I just
Absolutely.
wanted to say thank you so much to your protocols. So you have specific protocols for people to follow. You are very, gracious in sharing with our team and Nicole's team, and we've been really having extraordinary results. But what happened was a little while back is I decided to kind of do the protocols to a T, made sure that I wanted to go through the process first so that I could, like you said, you don't know until you experience it.
Exactly.
You don't know. So I was like, okay, I'm going to experience it. Of course, being a health and wellness professional for almost 30 years, I'm like, I kind of have an idea. However, I wanted to give yours a good, phase one. So I did, had next level results. Huh, shocking. So now we kind of like I took a group and we started again with the protocols. People are having great results. They're super simple to follow, but what Nicole and I wanted to do is like, we're just opening it up to people to come along and follow the protocols with us. You get guidance, you get advising, you get us to coach you for free. With the help of Peter's protocols, they're simple, you guys. Like, it's not like you're going out to the grocery store and buying weird things or you're doing weird things in the kitchen. It's super simple,
Right.
but they're designed in a way, like Peter said, to give you maximum nutrition with a low caloric intake.
Yep.
And that really is, like, it really is
That's the secret.
perfect formula. It's the perfect formula, and it makes so much sense. So we invite people. We're going to start another phase. And I never like to say challenge. We're never challenging ourselves. There's no finish line. Your finish line is when you're 6 feet under the ground, right?
Mhm.
So there's no finish line when we do this, but what if you experienced the protocols for a phase, like for 30 days, and then really gave yourself a good go at it? Because I think the biggest thing is that people wait, what, 2 weeks, a
Right.
week, nothing happens. They have this whole diet mentality of it has to be a quick fix, so they don't stick with it. So we're just kind of inviting everybody on this call, and of course, whoever else you want to invite, to just really experience the protocols for a good solid 4 weeks. We call it phase one, and then we'll just let you allow yourself the opportunity to see what your maximum life potential could possibly be, right?
Let me say one thing in closing. See, 50% are the elements that they're going to ingest along with regular food. But the other 50% that may be more important is exactly what you're talking about, the coaching that you and Nicole provide. So I call it the blueprint for success.
Right.
And that regimen, how you're consuming this, when you're consuming it, really does make a difference. It's kind of like, I give the analogy, if we're going to build a house, we could call the lumber supply place, and they deliver the 2x4s and the plywood and the roof trusses on your lot. They're completely useless without a blueprint. Without a blueprint, you can't build a house. It's the same thing here. 50% is what you're going to ingest, but the other 50% is how you ingest it. So I just want everybody to understand. That's why I'm such a huge advocate of coaching. I always have been. I really believed in it. I said, this stuff is so advanced. Unless we show people really how to get the maximum out of it, they're going to leave a lot, on the playing field. And so we want people to get extraordinary results, not good, not better, not best, but extraordinary. And you get that, the combination of the elements plus the coaching. So I'll shut up now, and I thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Peter. And thank you, everybody, for coming on the call. And if you are interested in trying the protocols that we speak about, just reach out to whoever invited you, or myself or Nicole.
And what will that date be of our focus phase one group?
Yeah, we would probably start like October the 4th. It's a Monday, the typical start or whatever. But so highly encourage you all to get on this protocol if you want to have the best quality of life, for sure.
I'm going to have a lot of great support, coaching, and fun.
Yep.
Yay, super fun. Thank you so much, Peter.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good night. We love you all.
Okay. All right,
Thank
bye-bye.
you, Peter. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.